Hello and welcome to the Benzo Rehab Dungeon, episode 62. It is the 15th of October, Cocktober, as some might say. Year of our Lord, 2021. I am your host, Michael Deebs. Joining me, as always, Danko Suvin from the Instagram handle at DankTheLuz. Not joining us, absent, with leave though, John, the producer from the Instagram handle at Discopathic.
It's nice that we give people leave when they die.
Yeah.
You
know? Yeah, a member of the Benzo Rehab Dungeon in death has a name.
Oh, no.
And also PTO. So
where'd the P come from? Oh, I know where P comes from. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The balls.
Yeah.
Today's episode is going to be on the riveting subject of concrete and buildings. I promise we'll make it fun and exciting and also fill you with dread, as is our wont to do. WONT. Throw back a little bit the old English. Speaking of English, we're going to do a little bit of news first. There's two things that I wanted to cover. And one of them is David Amos, I think his name is pronounced, was stabbed to death today, meeting with constituents. Yeah, we're heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
So let's see how the news reacted to it.
Every time a politician gets hurty,
yeah,
we get sad.
We get eye squirty.
Yeah, eye squirty when they get hurty. The hurdy-gurdy, it's a British thing.
Yeah.
Reeling from a brazen attack on a member.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead. Digging myself a hole.
Parliament, who was murdered in front of his constituents. The suspect, said to be a British citizen, was quickly arrested. Counter-terrorism officials are leading the investigation. CBS's Charlie D'Agata reports from London.
Stabbed to death inside a church while serving those he cared for most. And for now, British police are treating the murder as an act of terror. Sir David Amos was holding an open meeting with constituents when, witnesses say, a man wielding a knife charged in and stabbed the 69-year-old politician multiple times. Emergency teams were quick to respond to the scene in Essex, east of London, but paramedics were unable to save his life. Police arrested a 25-year-old man on suspicion of murder and recovered a knife. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the entire country was heart-stricken.
And the reason I think people are so shocked and saddened is, above all, he was one of the kindest, nicest, most gentle people in politics.
Well, now I'm just starting to think he wasn't.
You don't have to go through all that.
Well, he's a hardline what?
Oh, did he say, were they starting to talk about his actual politics? Yeah. Oh.
That he's a hardline something.
Okay, let's go back just a second.
Father of five was a hardline Brexit supporter who had served as a Conservative member of Parliament for nearly 40 years. Amos is the second British lawmaker to be killed in just over 5 years. Labour MP Jo Cox was shot and stabbed in the street while meeting with her constituents.
British police say it's too early to discuss a motive. Once again, the suspect is...
That guy's got a face.
You know what's fucking wild?
Yeah.
The British are still like deciding politics through sword fights. That's incredible.
I know, right?
I always expected that they'd be that way, but yeah, that rules.
Well, he was a knight.
That's what I'm saying, man. And a knight, live by the kitchen knife, die by the kitchen knife, probably.
Live by the blade, So no actual tears being shed here by me personally.
Yeah.
among many other things, you know, he voted in favor of the invasion of fuck, what was it?
Everything.
Yeah, the invasion of Iraq. He was anti-LGBT rights, including equal age of consent. I had to look that up. Apparently, same-sex couples could only consent at age 21, whereas opposite-sex couples, it's 16.
Well, you got to try it out for 5 years, you know, to know if you really you really want to try something new. You know?
He also opposed same-sex marriage. He was obviously a hardliner on Brexit, as the article said. So, you know,
I'm sorry. I'm just holy shit. Imagine like having to frankly talk about that in a political venue. It's just like the 5-year pussy trial you need to take. Like it's, as a man, women have to take the dick trial, of course. Jesus, that's so good. 5 years different.
Right, yeah, it was if you were a same-sex couple, you could not consent until 21.
Right, which implies the only reason
I
you wait that long.
You said the dick test or whatever. I was like, oh, maybe he got it backwards. No, yeah.
No, ladies do the dick test.
Right.
We boys would do the other kind.
Right.
The other kind of dick. Girl dick.
So yeah, not the greatest dude ever.
No, he seems bad.
Hard to feel bad. He was also a leading member of Conservative Friends of Israel.
Ooh, that's a good sign as well.
Yeah, a lot of good things. He also supported the reintroduction of capital punishment.
Ooh, yeah, kill that. I mean, don't do it.
Well,
I mean, he's already dead, I guess.
Yeah.
But
he supported a prohibition of abortion bill that sought to almost entirely ban abortion.
So you're just saying this guy's an American? Like,
yeah. He did improve or campaign for improvements in animal welfare and husbandry. He consistently voted to ban fox hunting and hare coursing.
Fair enough.
He was a patron of the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation.
Well, you know,
friend of animals,
friend of foxes, but
minority groups that are human, no.
Yeah.
And then, so the second thing that I wanted to take a look at, have you heard about this Kamala Harris kids video thing?
I have not, but I do need to make one last note on this before we move on, which is simply that if you've ever spoken to a Londoner, I don't think they want foxes killed in a cruel way. Like fox hunting probably don't. But I think that everyone who's ever lived in London wants to kill foxes by the bucket. I think they want them put in buckets and then shot.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, I don't want to speak for my Londoners. Yeah, ethically shot in a bucket. But
is there a fox problem in?
Yeah. Apparently, like all fucking night, all you can hear is the sound of foxes yowling. It's very cool. There's a huge fox problem in London.
I feel like maybe I'm just making this up, but I feel like the rich like specifically bred like lots of foxes so that they could hunt them more often or something like that.
I mean, it almost has to be true.
Yeah.
You could just make that up and it's true.
Yeah. I mean, I bet if I type it in right now.
Fox breeding controversy. The Michael Vick of foxes. Michael Vick? That's his name, right? Michael Vick. Anything? Myth busting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything about like them specifically. We'll get back.
There's a cool JSTOR article there. Ooh.
We'll get back to the listener on this one. We probably won't.
That's very, very important. Yeah.
Maybe when I'm compiling the video, I'll put something out on the Instagram story. So the second thing is the Kamala Harris kids video in support of National Space Week or something like that. I don't know. It's it's some like NASA approved, like we love space travel sort of stuff. Which
it's gonna have space lasers in it, isn't it?
No.
Or nukes? No. Oh,
it's got maybe an inebriated Kamala Harris talking to children.
Okay.
It's
we've all been there.
It's set up as a very like, we randomly selected kids around the country to come to Washington D.C. and talk to Kamala Harris about space sort of stuff, and then they give her like an interview sort of thing. But the problem is that these kids are clearly actors, and it's actually come out later on that yes, they had to audition for this role, and it becomes very apparent. It's like, the first time I watched this, I was like, this is a bad episode of the Magic School Bus.
Hell yeah.
That we're seeing. Like, it doesn't even have Miss Frizzle.
Yeah, it doesn't have any magic. Or yeah, Miss Frizzle.
Yeah. Doesn't have the magic. Doesn't have the school bus. Doesn't have Miss Frizzle.
It's not a cartoon.
Yeah. So I'm gonna skip ahead in this video a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna start at the 2:15 mark. There's like a, well, you'll see. There's a guy from the International Space Station that's like, "Hey kids, what you gotta do next is blah blah blah." So here they're looking at the telescope that's in the Naval Observatory in Washington. Tell me if you want it to be paused if you have any insights on anything.
Bill.
The stars. Jeff Chester, who runs the telescope, showed us around.
He told us that it works by using lenses on both ends of the tube to help focus the light from things that are far away.
Sounds like you need to find some lenses and a tube to build your telescope. Why don't you look around the library and see what you can find?
Where's the library? Maybe it's down here. Guys, there it is.
These are actors?
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Impossible.
It's gonna be really hard to tell the more we go on, and especially when we get to the interview portion with Kamala Harris, you're gonna be like, wow, these are such genuine, not pre-formed questions that like everybody agreed to or like was scripted or anything, you know?
Okay, yeah, actually, I already know the test to tell. Okay. If any of these children pronounce her name right, they're actors. I still don't know how I'm pronouncing it wrong. I cannot learn it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because I'm a racist, but aren't we all?
Yeah, you're excluded from the K Hive. Let's go to theater mode. People don't have to see my embarrassing recommendation.
Why? Oh my God, why are Democrats so bad at like terming things?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, also everything, but like naming things. Build Back Better, K Hive, fucking Love Trump's Hate. That one's still legendarily bad.
Oh,
that's a parody movie one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah, I mean, the first thing that's gonna clue you into maybe these kids aren't like random children is they look excited to be walking into a library that doesn't.
They're not dragging their fucking feet and like kicking shit down the hall.
It doesn't look like a fun library either. It looks like an old people library.
But they're gonna find lenses and a tube.
Oh yeah, no, you know, it's so organic the way they do all this too.
Whoa, check this out.
It's the expression of
There's
awe.
so many books.
This place is huge.
Let's start looking.
Look at that.
There's so many books.
Whoa.
Is that like a necklace or something? Some magnifying glass, I think.
Or a
Of course
lens.
he's dressed like that.
Here's another
That
one.
poor
We
Asian
found
child.
2 lenses.
Your next challenge is to find and meet the head of the Space Council. I'll give you a hint. She actually lives at the Naval Observatory.
I wonder who the head of the space
the library.
Yeah. So
Are you kidding?
hold up. First off, when they lead into this, they ask the question, I wonder who the head of the space
At the Naval Observatory.
Council is.
I wonder who the head of the Space Council is.
They know, of course.
Are you kidding? The head of the Space Council is the Vice President.
Say her name.
Kamala Harris is the Vice President of the United States.
Wait, did they do it
But
right or
she's
wrong?
also the President of the Senate.
And the head of the Space Council.
Well, welcome, you guys.
All right. This first
I
question.
genuinely can't tell. Did they say it right?
Yeah, they said it right.
Okay.
Of course. These are kid actors. They did like 20 takes before they got it right.
Now we know you're right. Right. That's what I'm saying.
So this first question is just, it's so organic. Again, I can't stress this enough. It's exactly how a child would talk if you put a script in front of them and told them that they had to say this.
Excuse me, Miss Harris. Why that ass so fat?
Right.
You a Pixar mom? I have no idea.
Miss Harris,
I've never looked.
what that thing do?
What that thing do? Yeah, see, that's a far less problematic version of my joke.
Well, I don't care. We do problematic things here. I think we've established. So yeah, this first question.
Welcome. Ready to start? Okay, go.
So, I may not always be fast to take my parents' advice, but what is the best advice your parents have given you that perhaps you can share with us?
Real.
I may not be fast to take my parents' advice. Something a kid says. Like, not even like convincingly written to like emphasize like, he's being a little cheeky kid sort of thing. Like, hey, I don't really listen to my parents a lot, but what did your parents tell you to do, sort of thing.
I would like to note that I'm full of shit. My parents know it.
I may not be quick to take the advice of my parents. However,
of my superiors.
Yeah, my elders.
My elders.
But I love her response, because this is something that Jeff Bezos said recently. That was one of those like fucking like hired articles that's like Jeff Bezos's emotionally intelligent response thing.
Oh yeah.
But this is
this will shook you with a masterclass about emotional
like literally I
hyperintelligence.
looked up her exact words, and the first article was like a Jeff Bezos shows a masterclass in emotional intelligence and handling criticism.
Unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Oh, it's just so good.
This is like some live laugh level, or live laugh love
live laugh level up.
Live laugh love level bullshit that you would see printed on like, I don't know, a 2x2 square that some wine mom is like pushed into the corner of the kitchen of her house that she no longer enjoys living in with
That's
her
fair.
husband that she's given up on ever loving. But
You know-
they're staying together for the kids.
You know what rules about your 2x2 square thing? Is that it could be 2 inches or 2 feet.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
It's believable in either case.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, one of the most important pieces of advice that I can offer you guys, and I want you to
She's
really
genuinely thinking
remember
about it.
this.
She's not sure. It's like,
Never let anybody tell you who you are. You tell them who you
so
are.
good!
Never let anyone tell you Kamala Harris is an Uncle Tom.
God damn it, that sucks so bad. Oh!
Never take external criticism that you might be a complete asshole.
She's literally like giving Polonius advice to these poor little Hamlet kids.
She's literally telling them gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss children.
Gaslight, girl. I can't even say it. It becomes
it's all
in my
these
mouth.
these triplet sort of I don't know, idioms. We're tripping up on them.
Gaslight, girl boss, to thine own self be true. Keep. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never let anybody suggest to you that you are what they think you should be. You
say it
tell
in
them
multiple
who
ways.
you are, and who you know you are, and what you intend to be.
Yes,
What is that?
sociopath children.
Got that?
Yes.
All right. I got more advice.
Yes,
So
We
what is
wrote
the
out a
most
whole
surprising thing you found about being vice president?
There have been a lot of things because I've never been vice president before, so there are many new things. But I'll tell you one of the things that I'm really excited about, and one of the reasons for our visit and the time we're going to spend time together today is the Space Council. My mom was a scientist, so she would take us to the lab with her, like on the weekends and after.
Hey, what was your dad, Kamala? Perhaps a Marxist scholar? I don't know.
After school, they shift to work long hours. And I just love the idea of exploring the unknown. And then there's other things that we just haven't figured out or discovered yet. To think about so much that's out there that we still have to learn. Like, I love that. I love that. And so I'm very excited about the Space Council. We're going to learn so much as we increasingly, I think, are curious and interested in the potential for the discoveries and the work we can do in space. So that's one of the things I'm most excited about.
Sorry, I blacked out there for like a minute.
Oh yeah, no, this is fine. Yeah.
Did she say words? Did she continue just saying words? Because it was white noise.
Buddha Geegan word salad, positive vibes, you know.
It's very cool. That's very, very cool.
Anyways,
I don't even have a joke. Like, I literally blanked out.
No, that's fair.
I just have nothing.
You guys are gonna see. You're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes.
Oh my goodness.
With your own
Oh my
eyes.
goodness.
I'm telling you, it is gonna be.
So, like, this is a little bit unhinged, right?
Yeah, fake excitement is fucking scary, dude. Like, it's so uncomfortable.
Well, no. Like, you can do
like this
fake
level
excitement.
of it.
Yeah, no, you can do
Yeah,
fake
like,
excitement. But
oh,
when
thanks,
you get to,
Grandma. But like,
you're gonna see with your own eyes, children, craters on the moon.
It's the kind of excitement that only a politician or like an HR manager is capable of.
And she's
both. Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's man, that sucks.
Unbelievable. So that's one of the things we can do here too, which makes it so exciting. So that's what we're gonna do. You guys ready to go over there?
Yes, ma'am.
Come on, let's go.
Honestly,
We then headed to the
I'm sick of these fucking kids softball questions, man.
I was gonna say, like, not one
They
thing
should-
about like truancy law. Come on.
Hell yeah. About busing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When you grilled Joe Biden on the debate stage about busing and accused him of being racist, why did you then sign on to be his vice president? So that's all we need to watch about that.
That's very cool. Do they ever end up on the moon?
You know, I couldn't stand watching it much further. That's kind of where I stopped
if these
watching
kids don't land on the moon at some point, then they waste an opportunity.
Yeah, no, they don't land on the moon. I'm kind of just going through they look at the moon at one point, it appears, but yeah, let's
That's what the U.S. should do. You know, like the space race, we got to bring it back because we have to beat Putin. And so what we have to do is, they put a dog in space, and when there were satellites, and we put a man on the moon and stuff. We got to put a group of 5 tokenized, various, diverse children on the moon, dead or alive, I say. But we need to take these diverse children and place them on the moon.
Okay, I think
that'll prove it.
I just found some more. I agree with what you said.
Yeah,
I think I just found some more Kamala Harris unhinged, excited.
Oh, fuck yeah, they're just staring directly into the sun.
That'd be great. I don't think that's what they're doing though.
Compared to the sun. What we have designed, I mean, look at the design of this thing. And the people, and the smart people, and the scientists, and the engineers came up with the idea that if you build something that looks like that, you can see the sun. Yeah. And you can see the moon, right? Well, wait till you guys see the moon. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about those craters on the moon. Always dream with ambition. Have big dreams. You'll remember that?
Yes.
All right, I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Remember
Once
what?
the sun set, we were
I don't know.
finally able to see the moon.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. I can't believe how close it looks.
I can see the craters.
There's one crater that's almost 1,600 miles in diameter.
I do enjoy Kamala's like fixation on the craters of the moon for some reason. She said that you're gonna see the craters on the moon with your own eyes, and then she goes into.
It's because she's an empty vessel for like
there's
the blood
definitely
of
some
ball.
kind of, there's some kind of psychoanalysis that could be done here. Like, look at all those big craters, children. Think of all the blood that we could store in those craters.
Think of the apocalyptic drone war that had to occur to cause all those craters across its surface. Yeah, that rules. That's very cool.
So it's bigger than all the states we come from combined.
Seeing it up close was incredible and made us all want to keep getting curious and exploring space with our telescopes at home.
And share what we were seeing with our families.
I can't wait to keep exploring with my telescope. Maybe I can see Mars.
Congratulations, Get Curious team. You did it. Remember, the moon isn't the only awesome thing to discover in space. You can also see the Milky Way or Mars. And those are the ones
those
we
are
know.
The three things in
the
space.
universe is full of new discoveries to be made, and maybe you'll be the ones to make those discoveries. Just get curious, and who knows what you'll discover.
Anyways, that's.
I mean, like, cool kids, science. Need more kids that like science. That's all fine.
You're advocating for more STEM graduates. Is that what you're looking for?
I'm advocating for more graduates, but the thing that's
I got
perturbing
bad news
to me
about graduates here. Let's
the thing that's really perturbing to me about this is that I'm not even sure entirely if these children. I mean, it's obviously staged, but I don't know if they're entirely acting. I think that these 5 children are just going to grow up to be her.
No, that's probably true. Yeah,
like these are just again empty children who it's like Hereditary, right?
Empty children.
They're these empty,
when
soulless
Kamala
children.
Is slain, she's gonna jump to one of their bodies.
That's kind of what I'm saying, right? Is that like it's someone's grandma is inside of each of those children and like puppeting their corpses, which is why they speak like that, right? So I
may not be fast to take my parents' advice. But I assure you, Kamala, I am a willing vessel for your spirit.
Please pass me the sweetmeats.
So yeah, on the subject.
So what's he doing? What's he doing?
On the subject of more graduates, Joe Biden has announced that free community college seems to be on the chopping block of the infrastructure bill. Yeah, who would have ever guessed that was going to happen? We got to make. Hey Jack, you got to make some negotiations, and sometimes it's all the good stuff, and what you keep in is anything that'll help corporations make more money.
Also, I don't understand. Sorry, my brain shut down.
Feel it out. It's okay, man.
This just keeps happening. This is a crazy theory.
Okay. They don't want to get it done. Is that what the theory is?
Well, I mean that.
Oh, okay.
That might be part of it.
Okay,
that might be
ahead.
part of it.
Sorry.
But I feel as if, theoretically, what a government is supposed to do is like take care of the people and like maybe even like not even take care of them, but like make the country more efficient for causes, right? Like making bombs and stuff.
Right.
I feel like they don't even care about that.
No, they can outsource it.
Yeah, they don't even care if we have enough graduates to staff Raytheon.
No. Well, we can import them.
We can import them, or we can have the existing ones live forever, probably. Like
download them into AI networks.
Right, and I mean, but the fact of the matter is that like the upper class people are still going to go to college and be fine, and then the middle class people are still going to go to college and then eventually pay off some of the debt, and it'll be more than what they took out, and the poor will just die, and that's the way that we want it.
You only need one person to like design the bomb, and then like 100 people who press a button or like attach a wire, do these individualized little tasks that lead to a completed bomb. And then you only need a couple of thousand people to like drop the bomb onto.
Right, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I will say, and I'm not gonna like say who it was or anything because of laws and ethics, but I had to work with and for an elderly man during the final days of his life who had some part in constructing and designing the first set of ICBMs. And I'll give you one guess about what he felt really bad about when he was dying.
He didn't spend enough time with his children.
No. He developed the ICBM.
Oh, he felt bad about that.
He felt bad about that. Yeah,
I was expecting some different kind of answer.
No, because success in one of these fields is fucking criminal. And it's like, not all the people that do it are sociopaths, apparently. Like, surprise.
We like to talk about, Operation Paperclip, right? And how we took all these German scientists that devised these horrific, devices of war and killing and torture. But we don't really talk about, like, whether or not they felt bad about it afterwards.
I mean, it's at least interesting because I feel like I've known a whole lot of people who think they're like dead-hearted enough to like do shit, and they're dead-hearted enough to do something like, middle management at a Walmart, or something like they're able to perform that kind of cruelty, but then you place them into a role where they think they're going to be just as like dead-eyed and like heartless as they think they are everywhere else, and then suddenly their conscience kicks in. Like, I'm sure that exists in the military occasionally, right?
I would assume so. I've not done research on that. The problem that these people who feel like they're dead inside enough to perform that kind of work, the problem is that they're dead inside. What they need to be is like Kamala Harris, which is very much performative alive.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the vessel of 5 children, because that's how I'm building this
you
fantasy in my head.
You have to be able to perform that obvious, fake enthusiasm for things.
I mean, that's how you make it, right? Is that kind of performance, but that kind of performance only occurs when you are dead inside. But I mean, at least partway, like dying. Yeah,
because she's clearly like got the like girl boss, I am a powerful woman and it doesn't matter what I do as long as I succeed sort of mentality thing going.
And you think that's because she's a complete person?
No, I think it's because she's a sociopath.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't think it's like a dead inside sociopathy. I think it's like a very fiery, like, wants to see what she can do and can get away with sort of sociopathy.
I mean, I would love someone that like knows more about psychology than us to like give us their take.
No.
But I
we
feel
know
like
everything that we need to.
that is true. We're smart boys. But my impression of sociopathy has largely been that, like, it's not necessarily that there's anything additional there that makes them in any way different. Like, there might be, I mean, even the kindest person in the world can be like full of rage, right?
Sure.
And so a sociopath is generally someone that is only missing something, right? That is just some part is missing. Not anything is necessarily additive. And so whenever I see someone like Kamala, she might have like sad clown syndrome. Like, she might be Pagliacci in the end with the whole, like, she goes home and then fucking weeps. But, or no, she does a hysterical cry. She is not a weeper. She is a fucking meltdown, full on her face.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's so much life there. It's not like a dead.
I think it happens in flashes though. Yeah. But I guess, it's like a landscape of humanity, not just like one figure.
We got to talk about her peaks if we're going to talk about her valleys,
That's true. But I do want to point out what I said before, but I feel like we kind of glossed over, which was my discovery, because it is a discovery, it's not just an invention of mine, that those children are Kamala Harris's phylacteries.
Yes. Probably.
Or Horcruxes?
Whatever the kids are saying. I mean,
is a Horcrux just in Harry Potter, or is that from elsewhere?
Horcrux, as far as I can tell, is just because
it's just a phylactery, right?
Yeah, everything that J.K. Rowling did and why I never got invested in her books is she just
is this renamed shit.
Yeah, she just took a bunch of like commonly accepted kind of folklore and like fantasy stuff from like Dungeons and Dragons and just like, let me slap shitty pig Latin on it.
That
I'm not
dumb
wrong,
motherfucker.
But this is exactly everything she fucking did, and that's why her books suck, and she never should have been respected. And finding out that she's a TERF is the least disappointing thing about her.
I mean, honestly, if someone can be born male and transition into becoming female, then other way around. I think that if a phylactery is able to become a Horcrux, then a man should be able to become a woman.
Yeah, if you can just take anything you want from like
and make it anything you want, she's already a postmodernist, right?
Yeah. If you can take anything you want from way better authors and way more imaginative people and just rename it and call it your own little universe, then
it's T.S. Eliot said that. It's good poets borrow great poets, or J.K. Rowling, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, we've dilly-dallied around for 35 minutes.
We made promises to people.
Dicking around.
Do we want to tell people where this came from, like where this occurred to us?
Somebody that we are friends with. Actually, it's does he go by his real name on the Bringing Down the Grindhouse thing?
Yeah.
Mitch from Bringing Down the Grindhouse had a birthday. He invited us to it. What a
bad choice, buddy.
So we showed up. I had been drinking all day already, and then I showed up with a bottle of Johnny Walker Red. You had a bunch of beer. We proceeded to get shithoused, and then we decided to start talking about insane conspiracy theories that we have. Yours being about concrete, mine being about why it's good that terrorists blow up big buildings. Yours is maybe a little bit more rational.
It's not like a truther thing. It's it's okay type of thing.
Yeah, no, it's more of like a resource allocation, like economic sort of critique of buildings, like the World Trade Center, for instance.
Right.
And other buildings. So we're gonna talk about concrete first, because these two subjects are intrinsically linked, in my opinion. And if you wanna, I didn't want to like spill what your theory is, because I think you could probably word it better than I can. Kind of nominally know what it is. So your theory, which is kind of the building blocks, literally, of what eventually becomes my role in this theory discussion we're having.
Right. It's difficult to say where to start with this, but long story short,
you should just start at the thesis and then work your way.
Start at the thesis. Yeah. So all of my graduate work was centered around this theory that I have, which is that there is only nominal difference between living and non-living matter, right? And that it's more of a continuum or a spectrum than it is like strict delineations, and that we see inside of non-living or abstract matter, be that information or something like concrete, we see these same biological mechanisms that we generally, or something like these biological evolutionary mechanisms that we generally only give credit to biological ones. And so one of the examples that I have used is that, and this it gets increasingly crazier sounding. I think that concrete is a parasitic organism that is eventually going to sterilize the biosphere, and that it wants to do that because it's good for its reproduction.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't have the people here that would react to that in a weird way. So it's just me going, I agree.
No. So, yeah, should I just walk through the whole thing then?
Yeah. Start at square one, man. I'm for this. I agree completely.
So do you know off the top of your head? I mean, there is a contemporary building material that we have kind of named after this. But do you know what kind of stone, concrete is or cement is supposed to be modeled after?
What? Not off the top of my head.
It's a stone that you find in the British Isles, and it's related to limestone. It's a type of limestone, but it's called Portland stone.
Okay.
Just like how we have contemporaneously like Portland concrete, Portland cement.
Right. Yeah.
And so Portland stone is this essentially concretization of carbon dioxide gas with calcium ions. And the way that it forms is it only forms in the water. And the way that it does this is that when water warms, its ability to hold on to carbon dioxide ends up reducing, and the carbon dioxide ends up linking with calcium ions. And can we guess where calcium ions come from, or calcium in general in the water would come from? It comes from, you have a guess?
I was going to shitpost and say fish bones, but go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Fish bones, shells, dead sea life is one of the primary ways.
Stab in the dark, like, hey, maybe enough stuff has died that fish bone calcium. I don't know.
Exactly. And so fish bones, shells, of course, there's some also like just existing mineral calcium that's exposed to the water. So the carbon dioxide, as the water ends up warming, ends up attaching to the calcium ions produced by these mass fish die-offs and things like that, and that it literally ends up concretizing somewhere in the water as this rock, as Portland stone. Or it produces the key constituents of limestone in general. And then from there, the limestone ends up converting to Portland stone.
Can I make a quick observation?
Yeah.
Of all of the things to like model our primary building material out of, this is what we chose.
I mean, there are good reasons for that, right?
No. But like just beige, like boring shit.
Well, it was Portland stone is a little whiter than concrete generally is, and so it's a little bit prettier. Like when you think of Portland stone, you're thinking of something like the Parthenon. Like a lot prettier, like looks almost a little bit, it's like cheap marble. But it's also like soft enough that you can cut it with shit. It's pretty heavy, but it's not as heavy as other stones. And so concrete and what we're kind of modeling after, and in fact making it out of, we'll get into that in a second, because it's really funny. It's like what we end up doing with concrete is it's akin to saying like, oh God, we need more workers. And so I'm going to take Mike and I'm going to put him into a blender, and then I'm going to make a new person out of him. Because
just add some Mike filler to it. And now we've got more Mike.
And so the way that we end up making concrete or cement is we take calcium carbonate from limestone, generally speaking, we put it into this rotating kiln at a temperature that should not exist. I get anxious thinking about this. It's 1400 degrees Celsius, which, what is that in Fahrenheit? I looked it up once and I had like a panic attack.
2,552 Fahrenheit.
Not a temperature that should exist. It's not a thing that we should be allowed to do. And
I've heard that like around 160 is when a person starts to like just not be able to live at all.
Right. I don't want to live at like 90, so.
No, for sure, yeah. But like physically, you just can't even live at 160, I think it is.
Fucking insane. And of course, this takes like a ludicrous amount of fossil fuels in order to perform this process. And what this process is this kiln ends up producing these things called clinkers. And clinkers are essentially, they're vitrified ash. And what I mean by vitrified is it turned into glass. And so all this stuff is then ground down, and then it's used as the primary component of Portland cement. And so when you have clinkers coming out, you have carbon dioxide exiting the other end, right? And so, of course, this is carbon dioxide in addition to the carbon dioxide that's offlet by the fuel burning. And so we have a huge amount of carbon dioxide escaping, as well as when the Portland cement, when it's actually setting, when it's curing and drying, that also off gases with the carbon dioxide. So it's constantly producing.
Carbon dioxide is something that we should not breathe, correct?
We probably shouldn't. In small amounts, it's fine, but it's also the thing that makes the world warm, and all that. But the worst part about all of this is that I don't think people realize how much cement we make.
Oh no, we'll get into that later with some of these buildings.
Yeah, but just as a general idea, and we've been doing this for as long as human beings have been building like large buildings. Again, like the Parthenon, which is like not all naturally occurring stone, like a lot of it is produced. But we use more limestone in order to produce concrete than any other material on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
We make more concrete than we cut down trees, more than we fish, more than anything, except for water. Water is the only thing that we use more of. And so the second most used resource on the planet is made through processing it at almost 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Which is fucking
which is
insane.
A naturally occurring temperature on
right. And so like the amount of fossil fuels that have to be used for that, right, is insane. And so what does the carbon dioxide gas cause, right? It warms the atmosphere, and it also ends up re-entering into the water. And what does Portland stone need in order to be made? You need carbon dioxide, warm water, and calcium ions. And so we have all the stuff we use to make Portland stone ends up releasing into the atmosphere, or Portland cement released into the atmosphere, enters into the water. The water can't hold it very well because it's starting to get hotter and hotter and hotter. It also kills the fish when it gets hotter. So it produces more calcium ions and more carbon dioxide, and more of the stone ends up forming in the earth, so that we can then strip it back up again in this limestone in order to make more cement. And so it's convenient that this is the most commonly commonly used non-water resource that we have, because it's also maybe the only one that invents more of itself the more we use it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it literally is, it's breeding, right?
Yeah.
It's this terrible cyclical process. And also consider the fact that everything that we end up using it for also accelerates this, because the world that we've built is made of concrete, and just the development of something like a concrete ramp that allows a vehicle to drive up it is another way of accelerating this warming and the creation of new Portland stone under the water. And so all of this is concrete becoming more and more reproductively successful and producing more and more of itself. And so the last kind of thing that I wanted to point out with all of that like crazy flattening and warming and all this apocalyptic shit that's occurring with this, and how it's actually accelerating and how it's never going to stop itself, it's only going to make itself worse, is this idea that is not as commonly spoken about as it should be, and it's kind of creepy to me. But this is an idea as old as like the Karen Smith model, which is decades old, which is the idea that there is such a thing as chemical evolution, like abiotic chemical evolution. It doesn't even necessarily have to be organic being connected to carbon molecules, right? Not necessarily living. And what I mean by this is that in the Karen Smith model, you see clay crystals going ahead and reproducing themselves and making themselves more complex over time, simply because of the fact that they are sitting within this like little pool of water and the constituent parts of themselves. And so it's not just that we have things like genes which reproduce themselves wrong and lead to evolution, but chemicals themselves do that exact same thing. And you also see this occurring, which is what my thesis was more about. This was like kind of a precursor practice round for that, where you see the same thing occurring with data sets. You see the same thing occurring with computer systems.
Yeah.
And so we have this weird living matter or living non-matter that exists on the two extremes of human life that we choose to kind of ignore. And both of them are looking for ways to kind of maybe ease us out or change our position, right? The abstract biomass and the like literally concrete, like non-living quote unquote biomass are both accelerating and developing themselves, and ultimately maybe the world is meant for them, not for us.
Damn,
but
homie.
That's my general shtick. Concrete bad. It ugly, smell bad, it make water warm.
I don't know if you're looking at the stream, but
oh, I'm not. I had notes.
Yeah,
I admit it.
I was going through GIFs and stuff like that. For some reason, whenever I pulled up the image that I downloaded, I was hearing static on your end. I had no idea.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, no, green concrete. This is one of my favorite things. That anytime you, well, I guess not you
me.
You as in Dorian, but anytime there's the discovery that, oh, hey, this thing that we make is like horrible for the environment or something like that, there always pops up this, but we can make it green, sort of mentality.
Greenwashing.
Yeah, literally, and we'll talk about that with buildings as well, because it's thing, again, like I said, your theory is the foundation of kind of what I get into with buildings. You know, it was interesting that you were talking about like how, you know, building a concrete ramp leads to, you know, the ability for a vehicle to go up it, and so you got like that pollution happening on top of the you talked about computers and data sets as well. One of the many video essays I'm sort of tinkering around with is about how computers are we have this conception of computers as being like hyper intelligent sort of things.
No, they're just very fast idiots, right?
Yes, extremely fast idiots, and going into like the electronic theory behind the faster we keep making computers, the more idiot fastness we have. and it's much the same with concrete. You know, you build a concrete building, and that concrete structure to get to the concrete. Obviously, the infrastructure to get there happens first, but you have the envision of, I need to build this big concrete building, so now I have to build a road to that area so that I can build the concrete building and the concrete facilities that surround it, etc., etc.
Can I point out one thing really quick?
Sure.
It's that concrete is such a good parasite for human beings that think of how much, like, so minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 an hour, right? Concrete, when you make it into a parking structure, each space makes higher than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Right. Like we are more willing to pay into this than into a human being. Right.
We would rather pay concrete to just sit there and fucking do nothing.
I guess they I'm sure a lot of rich people would pay a premium to park on top of a poor person.
I'm almost certain that's happening at some corner.
I'm sure
right now.
Anyway, yeah. So building this infrastructure for other infrastructure. Yeah.
Other thing. Concrete isn't even necessarily like best built material. It's really good for the applications that we use it in, but I'm going to make the case that we shouldn't use or we shouldn't have these applications in the first place.
Fair?
I don't think that either one of us would say concrete shouldn't exist at all. I think it's got to be like a metered use of it.
Just chill the fuck out, guys.
Yeah, just chill the fuck out. I do a lot of research on buildings and like building small structures and stuff like that, and a lot of times what people will do when they're building small structures is they'll have like a couple of concrete pillars, and that's all they need for their foundation. So other than that, like, and even that's kind of going away in some like small structure building. Now got like round screws, which are literally just like giant screws.
And that's more fun too. That's cool.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the building stuff, I guess, unless you have more you wanted to talk about with
That's the basic gist. Yeah, we can move on.
I think my conversation is going to bring up more stuff.
Hell yeah.
So my theory is that buildings should never be big, and the bigger
big.
the bigger you build a building, the worse it gets. And not only is it like just bad for the environment, I guess, but it's like a waste of materials. A lot of these mega structures end up abandoned or not used nearly as much as their square footage would lend the ability for use. A lot of vacancies, a lot of infrastructure issues that pop up the second you start building something. My like hot take on this is if you decide that you want to build a building higher than like 3 or 4 stories, you should scrap that idea and redesign it. And even that, I think in a lot of applications, pushing it. So you talked about the what I'm looking for, the climate impact of concrete. I found this interesting article, and I was originally kind of looking up like the energy consumption of like the World Trade Center and stuff like that. There's some pretty troubling statistics. So one of the points
how much energy was used by Building 7?
Yeah, exactly. How much energy did we put into Building 7? So one of the things that I was talking about while I was drunk at this party was the sheer amount of energy it takes just to get water service up to the top floor, like 110.
Right.
I didn't recall offhand how many stories the World Trade Center.
100 billion.
110 stories. 1360 roughly from tip to tip. I looked up some statistics.
Okay.
Well, not statistics. I looked up some engineering calculators, and I did some math. And in order to, let's say, at the top floor of the old World Trade Center building, you wanted to, I don't know, flush a couple of toilets every hour. The energy cost, if those buildings were still up today, the kilowatt hour cost to run a pump that would push water all the way up to the top of that building, just for like I'm saying, just for flushing a couple of toilets every hour, was $250 an hour.
Jesus
just
Christ.
To do that, just to accomplish the task of flushing a couple of toilets here and there per hour.
And so hear me out. Okay, this sounds barbaric, but it's actually very funny. Why didn't we just install medieval poop chimneys?
You're telling me, brother.
And mind you, imagine a 110-story outhouse.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's just for flushing a couple of toilets on the top floor. when you imagine that that's just for the top floor. Now multiply that by 110 times. Obviously, there's a coefficient.
Like there's a gradient, right?
Yeah, there's a gradient there, but it's the same pumping system. So really, actually, kind of not, because gravity exists, and everything's going to have to fill its way down. So we're talking about probably thousands of dollars per hour just to flush some fucking toilets in this building. The other thing that I found that was interesting, and I knew that this would dovetail kind of nicely into your talk about the climate impacts, is this puff piece that I found. And from the time that everybody's trying to recover from 9/11, talking about rebuilding on on the same grounds of 9/11, and this is Popular Science, and the article is how the greenest skyscraper complex ever is rising out of the rubble of the World Trade Center.
I'm sorry, but I can't get out of my mind the final scene of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
You only moved the gravestones. Why didn't you move the bodies?
Okay. yeah. Actually, no, that's great. I didn't remember that line. So on September 11th, 2001, the World Trade Center transformed from a pair of gleaming towers into a carcinogenic pile of smoldering rubble that's still killing people.
Yeah.
Couple of guesses why it's carcinogenic. Concrete, among other building materials that are used.
So much shit. What kind of insulation is that full of, too? Like,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't look too deeply into like what exactly the World Trade Center was made out of. But one of the biggest things is just building dust and drywall, not good to inhale.
Right.
Ceiling tiles, fucking drop ceiling tiles. Those are made out of stuff that you shouldn't. It's all particulates that can be carcinogenic. Can at least give you some kind of inhalation related illness. Yeah, and then all the refrigerants for the massive HVAC infrastructure that's there. Those are all poisonous to some extent. Yeah,
I'm sure just like one glob of that great stuff expanding silicone, if you just lit that on fire, everyone would die.
Without a doubt, yeah.
That stuff is spooky.
And maintenance is one of the big issues. When you build a building that's 110 stories tall, you get rainwater intrusion, things like that, things that lead to mold growth. A couple of the maintenance cost per story increases so much, and I'm not an anti-maintenance jobs kind of guy because I work in the but you also increase the risk to those people substantially the more you build a building up. You got to think about and just the simple act of washing the windows on the outside.
I was about to say, imagine the amount of carelessness required for society to build structures that large and have someone wash the outside.
That's part of it. Is there's no thought to the consequences of building a building that tall.
By the way, we're gonna have some Chinese communists get really angry at us here. It's gonna be very funny.
They can fucking go. You know what? I'm gonna pull up just because you said that.
Oh, the tankies.
Yeah, just to piss off the tankies. I'm gonna pull up Ryugyang Hotel in North Korea. Just a massive fucking waste of concrete. Which if you're a pro-communist DPRK stan, let's go ahead and talk about why they wasted all that fucking concrete to make a giant structure that's now abandoned. Real cool, guys. I'm sure it's just propaganda that it's abandoned. I don't know. So, there's what I love about, anytime one of these skyscrapers goes up, there's a huge propaganda. So we're talking about the greenest skyscraper that's ever existed, and it's like, okay, the greenest chemical pollutant that's ever been made.
Right.
The carcinogens of this building, I don't know, make or have less of an impact on the environment than most carcinogens.
Yeah, it's carbon offset because we put a fucking fruit tree on top of the building.
So there's a couple of wonderful things that I would like to point out here.
Okay.
Energy conservation and production. One means of achieving these goals is daylighting, which thankfully if enough daylight is coming into the window, it automatically dims the interior light. So this is like a lighting control thing that, like, yeah, it's just a sensor that just like goes, oh, there's light coming in. I'll turn myself down a little bit. Every space within 15 feet of the facade will be equipped with dimming devices. Wonderful. So we're only talking about certain square footage perimeter to begin with. It's just one of those things, and this is actually in a lot of like lighting code now. Have things on like street light.
There's a joke somewhere around here about like a light, like a daylighting mechanism that's malfunctioning and begins to gaslight you.
Well, that is something I was gonna get into. Is so many building architects have been sold on these kind of things, and first off, the offset of having all of these additional control devices versus like the most energy saving thing you can do is install a light switch that people actually use, or an automatic switch that like responds to like, okay, I'll turn the light. These dimming devices do very little to actually like change the impact of energy usage. And then also because you have all of these additional sensors and control, you have to produce all those sensors and control, going back in some way, and then they go bad all the time. And then what happens after 10 or so years, like what's happened at a lot of the facilities that I work on, is those devices are no longer made and they're no longer compatible with the control systems. So you have to replace the entire control system on top of, like you just want to replace one of these dimming light sensors, and it turns out, oh, if I want to do that, now I have to replace them all. What ends up happening is if you don't want to replace them all because you don't have a budget for it, you just install a regular fucking light. Back to square one on that. Breathing easier. During construction, the complex is requiring its contractors to use only low sulfur diesel fuels. A clean diesel that reduces nitrogen oxide and particulate emissions and is considered one of the cleanest, comparatively speaking, fuels available. I just love the idea of like clean fossil fuels.
Of course, yeah.
Because it invariably is just like, oh yeah, this is a fossil fuel, but not as bad, and that's like the best. Harvesting the rain, part of their so they use like rainwater conservation to feed into these centrifugal chillers that they use. These are the chillers. They've got, I don't know.
You can tell. Those are chillers.
Yeah.
They're chilling.
So these are
where my grillers at?
These are one of the more efficient ways to cool a space, but we're talking about I don't know. It's like 1.4 million square feet, like 1.8 million square feet of space that you're trying to cool. Well, yes, square feet. So that's not even considering cubic feet, which is how you actually measure power usage back. So I don't know what the actual are, but that's a lot of
multiplied by what, like 9 per room?
Yeah, something like that. So
yeah. Per floor.
Square footage is just fucking, or cubic footage is fucking insane comparatively. So yeah, and then they talk about reuse stuff. So here's some facts.
Before we get into the World Trade Center facts, can you click on that that link that I just sent you guys, or sent you.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, that building, very impressive that it's able to cool itself, and it's able to do all this. I sent it to the general, yeah. But this one can melt cars and set buildings on fire.
Yeah.
And this guy's built multiple. This architect has designed multiple buildings that do this.
Yeah, he made one. It's the I think it's now the Disney Opera.
Is it
in LA?
Vignali or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't quite remember. But yeah, it's this curvilinear fucking building that works as a lens, and so if you park your car in the wrong place or you're standing napping in the right place,
Vignoli,
it like sends a beam down and just lights shit on fire. And I just love that.
And so it's literally,
like when you're burning ants,
right? When these buildings are built, they're made by super rich people or conglomerates of super rich people, and they do shit that ends up melting cars. This is a picture or a video of Peacock. Nobody watches Peacock.
Skyline is causing a big problem. It's a shiny new 37-story tower in the financial district.
That looks dumb as fuck.
Yeah, it doesn't like it looks completely out of fucking place compared to like the other like old architecture building.
Imagine just ruining London with that.
Well, I mean
it's already ruined, obviously, but like you have this like old ass city and you just build this this curvy monster.
What a magnifying glass can do to a bug if you're a kid. The mirrored building focuses such intense heat, it melted parts of a car parked beneath it. For now, scaffolding will keep cars out of the intense beam of concentrated sunlight.
So yeah, like, that'll get into a subject that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but go ahead.
Right. No, like one of the other ones, maybe it was the one you were talking about before, but one of the other ones that he's built, and I don't know why he's built multiple of these. It's like by a pool, and so they have to like put up a bunch of shit. Like all these people are just hanging out by this pool, not trying not to get lit on fire.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love most about this is that, like architects are really, all artists to some degree, but architects are really notorious for kind of doing the design work at least, but really just hiring a bunch of like unpaid interns to do all their designs and work for them.
For sure.
And so I like to imagine that this is the only rich architect who actually designs his own buildings, and he's just like a psychopath that does this on purpose.
It's either
I don't think it's true at all,
or
he's an idiot.
Yeah, and that's a point that I would like to make is a lot of the people that are behind the designs of these buildings are incredibly educated in engineering, but have absolutely no concept of like ethics or
it's Jurassic Park disease.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much where I was heading with that is like the whether or not you can or versus the whether or not you should do something. Right. So yeah, to the World Trade Center facts.
Hell yeah. We'll probably this is what everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah. 425,000 cubic yards of concrete used in building the World Trade Center. This is the greenest skyscraper, mind you.
This is the new one. Okay.
Yeah, this is the new one. 200,000 tons of steel. Let's see. 43,600 windows on the Twin Towers with over 600,000 square feet of glass. Oh, the cubic yards of concrete. The concrete used in building the World Trade Center is enough to build a 5-foot wide sidewalk from New York City to Washington, D.C.
Fuck off. Right. That's awesome. That's so good. Also, point about the glass. People generally know the glass is made of sand.
Yes.
But what people generally don't seem to realize is that it's not just made out of any fucking sand. Like it has to be a specific type of like siliconate sand. And so
does that off-gas anything when you heat it up real hot?
when you vitrify it, literally. Yeah, I mean, it's and not only is it something that like ends up off-gassing, it's and like takes a huge amount of fuel and stuff, but it's also, I mean, it's not like a rare earth mineral, but it is still like something that is, I'm not huge into the whole we have extremely limited resources of various types. I mean, clearly we do have limited resources in some regards,
right.
But it's still limited enough that there will be conflict over attaining it. Whether or not we're actually going to run out, there's still going to be like conflict and interests that move around in that regard. So
yeah, and you just gotta think of, you know, like there's no reason that the World Trade Center has to be completely surrounded.
Or has to be.
Well, that furthering my point, of course.
Work from home, you nerds.
So the new World Trade Center building, take a look at it real quick. It's just this giant glass monstrosity.
I love it. That's not gonna light anything on fire.
Yeah, well,
oh my god, no, that's what it is. That's I figured it out, because you see like at angles, right? So it gets a little bit pointier as you go up.
Right.
What it does is it burns planes out of the sky.
It's actually like an like nuclear warhead device.
Right. The first anti-missile, anti-aircraft skyscraper.
Like once one of the other countries working on nukes gets froggy, it'll turn out that like the World Trade Center can like turn to the sun. Oh shit! Nobody knew about this. So we're gonna pivot a little bit to a lesser structure.
Oh, we're conservative now.
No, not that kind of pivot.
No, like I'm a liberal.
We only fall further into the rabbit hole of whatever it is we're actually at. I don't.
I don't know
direction we are at this point. So this is a tower in Louisiana. The
home of all of the coolest buildings.
Yes. Another thing that we're going to talk about in buildings is how often these mega structures get abandoned, completely and fall out of use completely. Which, you know, even if you want to make the argument that it's good that we, you know, consolidate buildings and build them upwards. Well, no, actually, it isn't sometimes, because a lot of times up completely unused, which we'll see here.
Right.
They're gonna say some things about homeless people that I'm like, why do you fucking care? This building's abandoned, so just ignore it. This is the local people talking about this tower. It's the Plaza Tower in New Orleans.
Dilemma. Here's a live look at the abandoned Plaza Tower, which many call a black eye for the developing downtown scene in New Orleans. The 45-story building has become a destination for the homeless population.
Travers Mackle and WDSU Investigates tells us many are questioning why the city isn't doing more to get the iconic building back into commerce.
I'll tell you why. It's fucking expensive. Once a building falls out of use, most of the time, it is better to just demolish the building than it is to try to repair it, because you've got things like old building standards that have been used, so it's no longer up to code, and keeping things up to code is important. Whether people like regulations or not, the new regulations come out for a reason. Things like not putting lead in your building, not using asbestos products, things like that.
Getting rid of lead and asbestos is like really easy and inexpensive.
I've worked on a couple of projects where and has decided to demolish the building, sell it to somebody else. Trying to do the abatement process basically means stripping it down to studs. And it's easier to just knock it over, pack it all up, and ship it off somewhere, which is its own problem, of course. It's easier to do all that, cheaper to do all that, than it is to try to do lead or asbestos.
Right. And sometimes it's worse than that, right? So here's another thing to build off of. So when I was working on that concrete project, the thing that inspired it, like the thing that really put it in my mind, was that down in the south side of Chicago, right by the Calumet River, there are these things called ore walls. And what these ore walls are just these giant concrete walls that go on for like 2 miles. And they're already existing on ground that is made of slag. So like all the waste material from like foundries that they just push into the ocean to make more land to build on top of. Very funny. And so these ore walls, they exist as like just the most brute, easy way of just like you dump a whole bunch of iron ore between them, right? And that's how you keep these little pellets. But the thing is that these ore walls they're now in disuse, right? Because I mean, a lot of the metal factories and manufactories and stuff like that in Chicago have shut down, or they've kind of changed the way that they do things, or they moved, yada yada yada. And so these ore walls are simply like miles and miles of concrete that is just taking up space. And so the city decided that they wanted to try to knock them down. And you can see chunks taken out of them, but that's it, because it was still too expensive and too difficult to just knock down this fucking concrete. And then even the property, or even the real estate space was worth, like, still more expensive to just knock it down.
Why that is.
Yeah.
So, you know, concrete has different levels. You know, you pour it at a certain PSI, which
right,
a certain way hardened to, you know, commonly what is used in foundation, 3,000 PSI to 45 PSI. When you're talking about something that's supposed to support, you know, millions of pounds of iron pellet without falling over, cracking, or breaking, or anything like that, you're pouring it at, and I'm not even gonna like take a guess at what PSI this stuff was poured at, but it was probably engineered to a high degree to be extremely resilient. And when you're talking about, like, you know, I work projects all the time where crew has to saw cut something out of concrete so that they can access broken pipe below that. Saw cutting a 4x4 foot square takes all fucking day.
Yeah,
because it's extremely resilient.
Right, and keeping in mind that these walls are like 20 feet tall, and maybe a good simile that kind of appears in my head is, imagine if you, every time you got a package from Amazon, that the box would be indestructible and would have to sit around in your house.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't break it down or anything, it's just stuck there. And then think about like whether or not that it would inform how many packages you buy.
This goes to my point on how
about how every town has their own shitty abandoned mall, or
that too.
Yeah.
But the gentleman terrorists who knocked down the World Trade Center kind of did us a favor.
Okay.
Do this.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cheap. Melt steel beams, jet fuel.
Yeah. Because we should have knocked down the World Trade Center, but it would just be really difficult.
So can jet fuel melt steel beams?
I don't know. I'm gonna go into it. It can soften it. Soften the metal, you know.
So you're a pancake theorist, are you?
I am whatever theorist I deem most worthy to be at the moment. Whatever trolls somebody the most.
There you go.
Let's continue this video.
You can't miss it. If you drive into New Orleans, the Plaza Tower, the third tallest building in the state of Louisiana, is there to greet you. And it's anything but warm and welcoming.
I think the city should tear it down and put up something new.
This is what the property looks like ground level. And we came out to get people's reaction, to see what the average New Orleanian thinks about the current conditions of this building. And to do that, I used a cell phone.
I think it's an eyesore.
That's the fucking building from Judge Dredd, or from Just Dredd. It's not, but it pretty much is.
Yeah.
You know, the newer Dread, you've seen that one?
I have seen that one.
Very good movie.
It is good.
I don't like that kind of stuff very much, but I like that movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Anyway,
schlock.
Evil Tower. It was good schlock. It's a hangover movie. Anyway, continues.
For the city.
With the last hurricane that came, a piece of the building fell off in the middle of the street right there, and it stayed there for like a week.
But probably the harshest critic of this blighted skyscraper.
It is a
It's
building that is in disrepair, and it has been left to rot.
Cassandra Sharp, a warehouse district activist who can see the tower from her home on Julia Street. Her concern, building security, or what she says is a lie.
Which is the worst fucking concern to have about something.
Yeah,
like
that's a dumb concern.
The only net benefit this building has ever served, because it never actually was completed and never actually was occupied.
Oh, it never saw use. So that rules. That's
Per
very
my
fun.
understanding, it never saw use, and we'll look at a couple of other buildings that never saw use. The only net positive is that people are able to take some fucking shelter in it.
Right.
So, fuck her. She's dumb for coming onto this building security point. Like, what are they gonna do? Steal the nothing that's fucking inside of there? Tear the drywall off the fucking studs that aren't doing anything?
How much copper piping do you think is still in that building?
I hope none. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope
I also,
every homeless person made a couple of dollars off that shit.
I agree.
Lack thereof.
When you start getting close to it, you can see people crawling out of it.
Sharp says the
good.
Also, fuck her. Homeless people don't fucking crawl out of buildings.
What a bitch.
Right? Like, this is where I was saying. Like, she's gonna say some stuff that's gonna make me.
I see a bunch of scum crawling out of it.
These spider people crawl out at night and feed on the nothingness and rot of New Orleans. New Orleans is a shithole, by the way.
That's rough.
The graffiti and garbage inside the fencing makes her believe it's becoming a haven for the homeless near downtown.
It is part of the problem.
A notion city leaders do not disagree with.
Why has Plaza Tower not been able to be redeveloped, in your opinion?
I have no idea. It's one of the most frustrating things.
So that guy's on the city council, and he has no idea why this has been able to be redeveloped. It's because it's fucking expensive. That's why.
Yeah.
I have no idea why anybody's interested in this old architecture that nobody thinks looks good, and is now also, per Cassandra Sharp's words or sentiment, infested with the homeless.
Yeah, and how would you describe that building? It's like a.
It sucks.
It's like a early 80s racist semi-brutalist take on what they think a Japanese building would look like.
I have no idea what
that's the best I can do.
Architectural design theory was behind.
It's neo-Chinese.
Mr. Land has entered the chat.
Frustrating for Councilman Jay Banks because the area on the edge of downtown, which sits in his council district, is booming. High-end condos, shops, restaurants, and a grocery store.
We gentrified everything else around here. Why can't we gentrify this building that's too expensive to maintain?
All built in the last decade, while the Plaza Tower just sits shut down.
But I really wish that a developer would come in and do something with it.
That's been tried and tried again. In fact, WDSU investigated.
So again, like I said, he has no idea why. That's because it's too fucking expensive, and multiple developers have tried to do it, and they go, no, fuck that, never mind.
Look through almost 2 decades of real estate records to learn why this prime property has turned into an eyesore. The Orleans Parish Assessor says the land where the tower sits is valued at just over $2.6 million, and that's just for tax purposes. It would likely sell for much more, but the assessor says the building is only worth just over $155,000.
I could conceivably buy that building.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll give you $10.
So we don't have to watch too much more of this.
We should buy that building.
We should. That should be the Benzo Rehab Tower, right?
It is. It is now.
Yeah.
You can't convince me we're not here right now.
Look around. Things are good in the tower. I'm on the 34th floor.
Ooh, how is it there? Breezy?
Yes, the windows have been.
The songs of many dead souls.
So one of my favorite abandoned buildings, and it's no longer abandoned because I don't know, hunting money. I guess rich people with a lot of time on their hands to wear mossy oak, real tree camo, and buy boats. Redeemed it. But the Memphis, Tennessee Pyramid.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is now a giant Bass Pro Shop.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the pyramid was originally built as a venue for like entertainment and sports, and saw extremely limited use and kind of rapidly fell into disrepair because it turns out that maintaining a giant glass and metal pyramid, which is completely hollow on the inside, by the way. Like it had stadium seating and stuff in it, but you got to imagine like the way that a pyramid is shaped, right? Like your usable space is only at the bottom of the pyramid. Right. You can't like build things inside of the pyramid too much more than that.
Yeah. Maintaining a building that was meant to be a tomb for one.
Yeah, exactly. So here is a and they actually eventually started nicknaming it the Tomb of Doom. So here's the structure of the pyramid, right? So you got these lattice structures that kind of go inside of it. All of the like usable structure down here. The rest of this is empty space. However, as a building manager, I can tell you this whole area up here still needs to be maintained to some extent because you're going to start running.
You want to stand out?
Yeah, you're gonna start running into things like leaks or building damage. This is in an area where storms could happen, whatever. You see that they're building it with cranes. Most of the cranes don't even look like they can reach the top of this fucking thing.
How fucking tall is that thing?
I didn't look that up. I should have.
Very tall.
322 feet.
Fuck you.
So it's this big,
that's too
giant
tall.
Fucking building, and in order to reach the top to do, general cleaning, general maintenance, you need to find some kind of lift system that'll get you all the way up there. Some kind of apparatus that'll let you scale down the side of it, which, normally building cleaners use some kind of like pulley system, but that won't really work on this building because it's a fucking pyramid and you're not going up and down, you're going at a diagonal angle. So maintenance became a nightmare.
What about a squeegee sled?
Yeah. Just slide down the side of it, bro. Until the Bass Pro Shop came in.
God bless you, Bass Pro.
And what I love about this is like this is the unabandoned building, right? And you still have these massive fucking grime streaks down the side of it because anytime it rains, all the dirt gets in. So they built out this top part where you can like use it as an observatory thing now. All that grime just kind of runs down the side of it.
Dude, you know what that grime is? That's dip spit.
Yeah, probably.
The whole side of the building is streaked with dip spit.
Inside of the building itself, they built it to be like an outdoor, like swampland sort of.
Like a Bass Pro Shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Disneyland.
So they've got all this like artificial like daytime and nighttime lighting in it, and like fake trees and pools and shit like that. So it's just my favorite because it's such a dumb project. Like, why would you build a pyramid like that? And then it became abandoned immediately, and then it took forever with like the city like basically trying to give it away to whoever would take it, and Bass Pro Shop stepped in and turned it into a fucking carnival.
One would argue that a pyramid is the only thing that belongs in Memphis.
That's
true,
yeah. By name alone.
Yeah.
So the cost to build the pyramid was $65 million, but
less than I would have thought, but also makes
We're gonna look at a building that's as much as you probably think. Which is the Fontainebleau / the Drew. Have you noticed this, by the way? A lot of apartment complexes around here have been like renaming themselves just like regular names. So
like
instead
Bob?
of like, yeah, there's literally one that's called it's like the Mary or something like that.
Fucking hate it.
Yeah, but oh no,
it's named after the person.
There is one that I know of called the Eugene. Which, why are you gonna choose
that? Sucks.
Of all the
well,
names
because if you're like a rich real estate asshole, your name is very likely Eugene.
I was named Eugene, and everything else in life has been compensating for that. So the Fontainebleau / the Drew building in Las Vegas is massive. It was going to be a Marriott hotel / casino, massive building that was built, well, not completed, built all the way up to the top and was like getting the finish work done. Then the 2008 financial crisis hit, and a bunch of investors pulled out of it, and it became unused, and basically just fell into disrepair. And what eventually ended up happening is because the company that was building it went bankrupt, the city came into ownership of the building. The problem with ownership of a giant unused building that still needs to be maintained, because you don't want it to fall down on everything around it, and also you don't want it to look like a giant eyesore in your tourist city, is you now have to maintain. It's like the old parable of like the white elephant or whatever.
I was gonna say, I've got an idea. It's the White Elephant Casino.
So while I was looking this up, and it's fortunate that we decided to this episode today. So it's switched hands a couple of times. When it first came into disuse, what's his name? Han? You know who I'm talking about? One of those.
I'm not sure.
One of those fucking investor guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, it turns out as of 1 day ago, sorry, Marriott International has cut ties with the unfinished former Fontainebleau, a long-stalled resort project on the Strip that changed hands earlier this year. What happened was, there we go. Billionaire Carl Icahn acquired the property in 2010, so just a little bit after the financial crisis and everything, for around $150 million. This project was in the billions when it was abandoned.
Of course. Yeah.
And so he bought it for a fucking dirt cheap price compared to, you know, the cost of what all the materials and put into it.
Yeah.
And then he resold it for $600 million, quadrupling its investment, of course, because the rich just get to fucking do shit like that, you know?
Yeah. What's the God damn it? I forget who said it. It doesn't really matter. But there's this dumbass quote by one of these extremely rich assholes where it just, yeah, the best way to make sure you're wealthy is to like always have 100 million around for a good investment. And it's oh my god.
The best way to make sure you're wealthy is just always have fuck you money. So when he sold it, the Witkoff, developer Steve Witkoff and real estate firm New Valley got into negotiations with Marriott again, blah blah blah. They released the new resort's name, Drew Las Vegas.
Who wants to stay at the Drew Las Vegas?
Yeah. Oh, the Drew, named for Witkoff's son Andrew, who died of an OxyContin overdose in 2011 at age 22.
Don't do that!
Right?
Don't name a building in Las Vegas after that!
Right? Of all the fucking things, man. So anyways, yeah, Marriott's severed ties, so it's likely that this is going to go, because another problem with these mega structures is that they sometimes take like 5 to 10 years to build, and we live in an incredibly precarious economy that just happens to have economic crises every 5 to 10 years. And so you put all this money into a building, and before you can finish it, the economy goes to shit. Every investor, every prospective tenant of the building pulls out, because the building's not built anyway, so you don't really have anything in place other than like, yeah, we're good, okay, we're good. They all pull out, or they cut their losses, and whatever securities that they had placed in the building paid off, whatever, but everybody pulls out, and now the building's abandoned. The taxpayers of Las Vegas, ended up paying for the maintenance and upkeep of the structure for a decade or so, before now it's fallen in, and the taxpayers don't get to see that money returned to them whenever it's sold to an investor. They don't get that return of investment. And then these investors already are pulling out again, and it's likely that there will be some kind of bankruptcy process for the project. And guess what will happen? The taxpayers will pay once again for the upkeep of a building that's not profiting them in any way by drawing in revenue.
And then we'll sell it for $10,000.
Yeah, and you can see from this image, that there's all sorts of like busted out windows and shit like that. It's not like properly made, obviously. And
good.
Another wonderful building is 432 Park Avenue in New York, and that's this thing on the left over here.
We're going to go down to 432 Park Avenue. We're going to make it higher. There you go. That's a skyscraper song.
This article is the downside to life in a super tall tower: leaks, creaks, and breaks.
No. Scroll up, Mike. You read it wrong. The downside to life in a super tall tower: leaks, creaks, breaks. It's the only way that it works.
You think that's what they were going for? Maybe it's lakes, creaks, breaks. I don't know.
Lakes, creaks, and breaks. Oh, he's Scottish.
It sounds like, I was gonna say that's.
Can you do a Scottish accent?
I'm not gonna.
I can't, but I want to try. People. Scroll up again. You're gonna offend people. The downside to life in a super. I can't even do it.
Yeah, let's not.
Leaks, creaks, and breaks. That's the only part that I can do. Leaks, creaks, and breaks. Even that's bad. But... Hit me up, Scottish.
So this is actually taller than the old World Trade Center buildings.
Well, everything's taller than the old World Trade Center buildings.
I'm taller than them. The nearly 1,400-foot tower at 430 Park Avenue, briefly the tallest residential building in the world, was the pinnacle of New York's luxury condo boom half a decade ago, fueled largely by foreign buyers seeking discretion and big returns. 6 years later, and again, we're talking a very short time frame turnaround here. 6 years later, residents of the exclusive tower are now at odds with the developers and each other, making it clear that even multi-million-dollar price tags do not guarantee problem-free living. Boo-hoo. The claims include millions of dollars of water damage from plumbing and mechanical issues, frequent elevator malfunctions, and walls that creak like the galley of a ship.
Imagine being stuck in the elevator on that fucking thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That rules.
All of which may be connected to the building's main selling point, its immense height, according to homeowners, engineers, and documents obtained by the New York Times. So less than a decade after they built these fucking condo towers, they're already running into massive issues because, as I was talking about earlier, the infrastructure that you need to, just to pump some fucking water to flush a toilet to the top of this goddamn building, the energy cost is insane. The infrastructure, you can't just have regular pipes at that point, because you have to have high enough pressure that it reaches all the way up to the top of the building. So now you're working with like industrial grade, like heavy steel piping. And if you don't have, you know, the right grade, or, you know, it's just not strong enough, or it's not maintained properly, which is most of where these issues come from.
Right.
You get leaks in the plumbing, and these are high pressure leaks, so they're just like spraying out the side of the fucking pipe at all these joints and stuff like that. So yeah, they're and now they're having trouble finding people to buy the condos or rent any of the spaces and buildings, because
my bad high risk investment.
Right. No, I don't feel bad for that at all. It's just funny to me that they built this massive fucking fuck you tower, and it's now completely unused in a lot of respects, or the people who do use it don't even want to fucking be in it anymore, but can't sell whatever. This
is a real Nimrod problem.
Yes, it is a real Nimrod problem. Don't ever, if you, don't
stop building towers to God.
Yes, and you can see this this excellent skyline shot. So 432 Park Avenue used to be the tallest residential building. Now you got this one to the right of it that's like the same height, and then one a little bit further that's now taller than it.
It's stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
It's literally, I mean, like,
contest.
It is, and like that's such a trite thing to like point out, but it's so obvious in this image, and it's so funny.
Yes. All right, boys, whip out your towers and let's see who's the longest.
My God, it's like this guy. He's
if you're like me. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. just like the one that is only taller because of the fucking antenna or the fucking light, the lightning rod or whatever the fuck it is on top. It's only taller because of that. So I'm trying to think of a good metaphor at a dick measuring contest for that, but it's like this guy's like pushing his balls up or something. Like, what is he doing there?
It's just like if you have a weird hair that grows on the tip of your penis or something.
It's like pushing his foreskin way out.
Yeah.
I hate all of this.
So anyways, these guys are all trying to like pull it out to see who's as longest. Where
sucks.
As me, it's not about the size of the tower, it's how you use it, and we shouldn't be building buildings like this because they're useless.
It's not about the length of the tower, it's about the girth of the yurt.
Something like that. The girth of the yurt. Yeah. Not even trying to build a tower here. You might think that, hey, given the examples that we've seen of other similarly tall buildings, especially residential buildings where you have like much more intricate services, because, you know, every suite has to have its own, you know, plumbing for a kitchen, plumbing for a restroom. Whereas at the World Trade Center, it's a little bit more general, where you probably have, you know, like more public access restrooms that are centralized, etc. The plumbing goes
and shit like a fucking
everywhere.
Restaurant up top.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind.
Of course, yeah. I'm
Imagine being the dishwasher in there.
Of course, yeah.
Just fucking like blasting holes in the wall. Sorry. Go on, man.
So you might think that people would see examples like 432 Park Avenue, and these are, you know, the people designing these buildings are all architects. So if you said 432 Park Avenue to an architect and they don't know what building that is,
if a pal doesn't come over the room,
I don't know what, like, 432 Park Avenue, I've never heard of that. Where is it at? Like, no architect is saying that, so they know about
432 Park Avenue.
Yeah. So they know that these buildings exist, and these buildings have all these problems, and that there's a historic issue with building residential spaces that are this big. So what are they trying to do in Chicago? There's
trying to challenge God.
So there's this old project called the Chicago Spire, which thankfully was never built because it ran into so many issues that it could never get off the ground. And when I show you an image of what this thing was supposed to look like, you're going to hate
it's so good. That is my favorite
literally
toy.
A spiral dildo.
Yeah.
As an affront to God. I was talking to a friend. Oh, and this is what it actually looks like right now. They built the they were building the parking structure portion of it first because it had to be underground. I don't think it had to be underground. That's how they planned it. So now what it is it's a giant, dangerous, deep pool of water because this is as far as they got before all the investors started pulling out.
I mean, is your city really a city if it doesn't have a giant gaping pool full of dangerous mosquito water?
Yeah, a man-made pit of definitely non-potable water that's probably rife with pests and parasites. And
I'm imagining, like, in a Chicago winter, like walking down the town with like the wrong boots on because you're a newbie, and you just start kind of sliding on the ice. And you keep sliding, and you're just like, you're just like, no,
not the old Spire pit.
And you fall down into like a pit just brimming with corpses.
Yeah. So this is what this fucking thing looks like.
That's so good.
Never made it off the ground. It's got a fence around it. Nobody goes near it, hopefully. Again, this is the concept art of it. Just fucking horrible.
We're gonna build the world's shittiest tower.
The site where this was supposed to be built, of course, is real estate venture option for something. And this is what they're planning on building there instead.
2 pits. Yeah. 2 death pits.
2 giant fucking towers. So the updated 2021 plans include 2 elegant residential skyscrapers that will stand at 875 feet in the north tower and 765 feet in the south. With the north being slightly taller, both buildings will be set at a slight angle to one another, offering views along the lakefront and river corridors. Let me tell you how many people are actually going to fucking live in this.
0.
Because this is probably never going to reach that stage in the first place. Secondly, is there really a demand for, I don't know how many stories this is going to be, but let's assume, 12, let's just say 10. 10 feet a fucking story will round down. 87 stories of residential living space and 76 stories of residential. Is there such a housing need for people that can afford this kind of living lifestyle that they're going to be able to fill that many floors of people? No.
I have a really funny thing about Chicago housing for the rich.
Yeah, I know you do.
So into that. Yeah, I'm sure I've brought this up before. But
yeah,
so
I brought up Chicago specifically because I figured that you would have something.
Oh hell yeah! So Rahm Emanuel, my favorite boy, everyone's favorite boy, just the best boy, the goat. He's the throat goat, Rahm Emanuel. This guy, he along the Chicago River, which
sorry.
What's that?
Do you think he's enough of a throat goat to throat the Spire?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's what is it, like negative, like 40 feet?
I guess he's just taking the void into his mouth, huh?
He's just vomiting. So that guy vomits black bile into the sink like every morning. That's just like part
a lot
of his routine.
Them do, and you know what I mean.
Yeah. But so the Chicago River, for people who don't know, is not a river. The Chicago River is it's a sanitary canal.
Oh, right.
And ultimately, which is to say that it allows it's a man-made ditch filled with water for boats and poop to go through.
Yep.
And the Chicago River has been remediated a little bit more in past years. It's nowhere near as bad as like the Calumet to its south or anything like that. But it is pretty toxic water. Like, you shouldn't fuck around in the water or probably near the water. Just don't do it. It's where boats go, no people. And of course there are parks next to it and stuff, which are hysterical to me. But Rahm Emanuel started up this housing development, and it was going to be for, people who really needed it. of course, placed next to toxic water. And so everyone was like, yay, that's where we'll put all the poor people, is next to the evil water. But then he realized, wait, hold on, that's waterfront property. And so he ended up changing everything so that these permits were now changed for them to become luxury condos. Just because it was waterfront property. So it's just insane. I don't think most of it ever got built either. I think it's still like caught in limbo, which is even funnier to me. Right.
And this is a common grift among, you know, city leadership of various locations and developers, where they know it's way easier to get a housing project approved in the beginning if you sell it as, oh yeah, this is low income housing, it's gonna be nice for the poor people, and then everybody's like, yeah, we gotta have that low income housing, get that low income housing pushed through, and then it turns out that low income housing agreement only lasts 2 years, right? So they don't build a building in those 2 years, they pace it so that it can't be completed in those 2 years, and by the time, you know, you're on year 3, the permit for the low income housing building stuff is kind of expired, and they resubmit for, hey, this is actually going to be high income housing now. And that happens at a lot of cities.
Hell yeah. And, you know, like, construction workers are notorious for like building things really quickly.
Right. Yeah. No, they know what is going to happen.
No, of course. Right? Yeah.
Not the workers, but the developers.
Of course. Yeah. It's them. They're doing the bad. Hell yeah. What else we got?
The last thing is we talked about how things get greenwashed.
Oh, dude, I have a story about this too. Sorry, go on.
And the last thing that I'd like to talk about, this is a fun little short article. But it's the title of it is, "Can we please stop drawing trees on top of skyscrapers?" And the answer is probably no, but we should stop.
But we can try.
So Tim Deschamps, which I don't know what Nova is. I think it's probably some architect.
Oh, Nova, like the Science Channel.
Oh, okay. So he's a senior digital editor at Nova.
He does the cute little videos that your science teacher has you watch back in like 2002 when he had a hangover. He would cart in the little TV.
So he starts out the article. Just a couple of years ago, if you wanted to make something look trendier, you put a bird on it. Birds were everywhere. I'm not sure if Twitter was what started all the flutter, but it got so bad that Portlandia performed a skit named, you guessed it, Put a Bird on It. What a sad little tote bag, I know. I'll put a bird on it, etc. It turns out that architects have been and coincidentally, a bunch of emo girls got tattoos of birds on them. Flocks of birds usually flying away.
Just a bunch of swallow tattoos.
Yeah. Not shitting on anybody that got a tattoo like that. I the only reason I don't have tattoos is because I was always too much of a coward to get. So
hell yeah.
We'll throw that out there as a caveat to my shaming of women. So it turns out that architects have been doing the same thing, just with trees. Want to make a skyscraper look trendy and sustainable? Put a tree on it. Or better yet, dozens. Many high-concept skyscraper proposals are festooned with trees on the rooftop, on terraces. Terraces.
The terrace.
In nooks and crannies, on absurdly large balconies, basically anywhere horizontal and high off the ground. Now, I should be saying architects are drawing dozens because I've yet to see one of these green skyscrapers in real life. There's one notable exception, Bio Milano, which isn't quite done yet. This article was written in 2013. That building is done now, but is running into a bunch of issues. Trees being on a building. So he does a really good job of going into why this is dumb. Like when you look at something like this, that's like, oh yeah, that's cool. You got the trees there. That's nice. From the maintenance perspective, I can tell you that this is a fucking nightmare.
Right.
There are plenty of scientific reasons why skyscrapers don't and probably won't have trees, at least not to the heights which many architects propose. Life sucks up there. Life sucks up there for you, me, for trees, and just about anything else except for peregrine falcons. It's hot, cold, windy, the rain lashes at you, and the snow and sleet pelt you at high velocity. Life for city trees is hard enough on the ground. I can't imagine what it's like at 500 feet, where nearly every climate variable is more extreme than at a street level. He talks about wind a bunch, which wind knocks down trees all the time, and it's stronger at higher altitude.
That'd be so funny,
So
dude.
imagine being on, I don't know, the 300th floor of a building that's got a neat
This
little
oak tree just gets
outside.
fucking torn out the top.
Right. And oak tree is a good example because oak trees grow long and they grow old and they grow fucking forever. And that's part of the problem about trees on a street level. We get a lot of concrete uplift, like concrete sidewalks that get lifted up by tree root growth. What do you think that's going to do at the 300-foot level of a building? That the building is the only structure that's supporting that tree. You're going to be on the 200 and I don't know, 290th foot level of the building and have a fucking tree root growing through your ceiling.
I mean, people love indoor plants, you know?
Right,
Like, that's
yeah.
a real big
I
thing.
live in the roots.
With all the rats.
So, yeah, he talks about why, you know, like, yeah, you've got a nice tree up at this tall level, but when trees freeze, you know, like, the water inside the tree also freezes, and now you've got a giant frozen, like, death trap on top of a building. Things like, you know, just don't do it.
It's bad for reasons that are obvious.
Yeah.
You know?
Tall
Tree
building
no good
already
on
bad.
building.
Tall building already bad. Tall building with tree on it worse somehow.
Right. When I lived in Berkeley, we lived in this awful building, or one of the buildings I lived in, where it was essentially just a bunch of like shipping containers, yeah, with all this weird plastic shit put on the inside, and then the roof was a garden. No trees, but a lot of plants. And it was so fucking funny because I moved in there and saw, oh, cool, a garden up top. I thought that was a theoretical thing because I couldn't believe that they actually did it. You know, like all the photos I had seen of this place, well, all the images were like, all the images I saw of this place were like, you know, mock-ups. And so I'm like, oh my God, there are actually plants up here. That seems bizarre. And they were growing like kale and shit. And then they tried to sell it to us.
Nice.
Which was extremely funny to me.
Yeah. Hey, this was produced by the place that you pay to live in. Would you like to pay to eat the product?
This kale has survived off of the water from your like beer sweat shower in the morning, and you're not allowed to eat it.
Good that you brought that up because one of the last portions of the article is, then there are the logistical concerns. How are these trees going to be watered and fertilized, pruned? How will they be replaced? How often will they need to be replaced? He talks about how someone who grows a bonsai, stressed plants require constant attention. Then he talks about green roofs. Green roofs are like moss roofs and stuff like that. Growing simple green roofs is a chore, and those plants are chosen for their hardiness and low maintenance. Trees are generally not as well adapted to a wide range. It's likely to. This guy's. This is the building that he referenced that was in the process of being built. So you have these trees being hoisted up onto these platforms that have to be like super fucking engineered, and the cost to like make them strong enough to hold these plants like maybe outweighs the benefit of the plants, because you can only grow the plants for so long before you have to replace them.
Right.
And then just all these like fanciful fucking architect wet dreams of like, yes, what if we made this beautiful biome inside the middle of the city? This talks about like just, I mean, this is a rendering, and it's comical how they thought that this Like, look at how tall those trees are up there.
Hell yeah.
And then
Central Park for TED Talk people.
Yeah, and then one of the other problems, this similarly designed green tower structure in China has a huge pest problem now because trees bring pests, and not that trees, want to bring pests. It's just that pests set up shop in trees, and that's why
they like things they can eat and that keep them cool and that attract. Yeah, it just makes sense.
So that's my my rant on my rant and explanation on why buildings are bad.
Well,
if you make
I'm gonna smear all of the exterior of my house in peanut butter.
Yeah, and then when the dogs come, why?
That's all I got.
Just have a bunch of fucking coyotes like licking at your door and shit.
Hell yeah. Little ice blocks as doorknobs, or not ice blocks, the fucking salt. Yeah,
sand. Salt.
See, we're all fucked up. This has been a nightmare.
This is one of my soberest episodes, and I can't even fucking say words anymore. That's all I got, I guess. Please, if you feel it in your heart, donate to the Patreon, patreon.com/BenzoRehabDungeon. It's also in the link tree, in the bio, and also the description of the podcast. The bio on Instagram. Description of the podcast wherever I post it.
You are better at this when you're drunk.
I am, yeah. Dorian, do you have anything that you need to pitch or talk about?
The workshop is back on. We've got week 2 of I think 16 starting back up tomorrow morning. Of course, anyone that wants to pop in can just pop in if you just shoot me a message. But if you want, you can give us some money on the Patreon, patreon.com/TRUNCATA. Yeah, it's a fun time. I'm recording a lecture immediately after this. So
cool. And John's not here to pitch nothing because
he's dead.
We miss him. Miss John.
Yeah.
Perhaps we will resurrect him spookily in Halloween. I don't know where I was going.
We might do it. We might zombify John.
Dear listener, we love you. Please take your medicine.
Please take mine too. And do not share with friends.
John's not here to tell you to do it. Goodbye.